Hey, everybody.
How's it going, everybody?
Yeah, we are H&D abroad. I am abroad.
And I'm just here. It's good to be here with you all today. As I said, we're H&D Abroad. I'm Herman.
Yeah, and I'm Dee, and our channel is all about our move abroad process. We are giving you all the tea on getting to your best life by choosing Move Abroad as a plan A for a healthy lifestyle and creating that generational wealth. So, what do they need to do, Herman?
So if you are interested in that content, which we know you are, we want you to subscribe to our channel. That's the first thing. Like on this video and all the videos that you enjoy. And make sure you hit that notification bell so that when we're on, you know we're on and you can join us.
Absolutely. So, if you can type in the chat, hello, so we know that we've got good sound and good video. Thank you, Madam Teacher. Thank you so much for letting us know that. And also, if you are joining us in the future, please put that hashtag replay. Let us know that you're continuing to watch the content even after I live. Today, I was live on Stephanie Perry's show where she was talking about YouTube creators you should be watching that are in the not just in the move abroad space, but we are embracing joy and how we define it in this life. So we are all about joy. That even when in the difficult conversations, and today, ooh, we're gonna lean in. Is there a right way to talk about money?
So first, so that people don't think we're weird. Sorry, weirder. Let's explain to the people and let's say hi to Tanya Brooks. Great for
Yeah,
joining us. Thank you. Good to see you. So explain to them why you're not in the room sitting with me, which is my favorite place to have you.
absolutely. So, um, right now, I have started our house sit. So we will have house sitting content this month and going forward. So I am here now while H gets our youngest son ready for college and enrollment because they need a little bit of help sometimes. So he's staying in place while I do a beautiful house sit in the mountains of Colorado. I can see Pikes Peak right outside my window. So, yeah, he's a little jealous, but yeah, he'll be joining. Hopefully, he'll be joining us, joining me soon so that we can do this broadcast and other content
It's
together.
motivation, folks. It's motivation. All right. So our conversation today, is there a right way to talk about money?
So I put up a poll and I wanted to make sure that I mentioned that you still, even we're going to keep it open even after this broadcast, but in our on our channel community, I asked the question, why are we not talking about money? Like
Hmm.
why is that is that taboo? Is it we just don't know how to have the conversation? And then yesterday I put up a poll about when do you think it's the right time? So I definitely wanted to say thank you for everybody that's been populating that poll and saying, look, it is a complex issue. We're bringing in the history of how our parents or other people that influenced us, and then there's age, and if you've lived on your own a while and then trying to combine your independent mindset about money with your partner's independent mindset about money, and now you are trying to make these collaborative decisions together. So woo, if y'all ready to lean in, we are ready to lean into this today.
As always, this is a conversation. This is not just D and I prattling off. This is a conversation. We want you all to jump in. We want you to give your comments, give your thoughts, give your feels, ask questions, because I'm pretty sure somebody else is going to ask a question. It might be a question we need to ask. So join this conversation. Hello, Agent Grateful, and hello, Island Say. It's good to see you all. All right, so.
Well, do you want to?
I'll start.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So money, finances are probably one of the biggest battles, disturbances, hits in a relationship, because you bring to the table not only what you believe should be happening with money, what you want to happen with your money, but your history of watching money being spent while you were being raised.
And there's an emotional component to that too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's an emotional component to it. So if you watched two people who were working together in a great setting and they made the money work, good for you. A lot of times you watched one person being responsible for the finances and passing that information on possibly to the other person, or one person putting down their check to pay all the bills and the other person took care of all the responsibilities, or you had two people who hoarded their money and fought about money. You had many things that happened in what you saw. Depending on how long you've made money and the kind of money you've made and your expectations for your money, then you have a lot to deal with how you've taken that into your relationship. So D and I, because this is about our story. So D and I met when we were 19 years old. And I'm not sure, babe, if we talked about money a whole lot while we were in the early parts of dating. I think as we got closer to marriage, we had some conversations, we talked about some things, but we walked into the marriage pretty much with assumptions. I personally can say that I was probably not a strong financial steward. And I'm using that phrase, but not that I was a spender. I didn't have a lot of money. Growing up, my folks both made a reasonable amount of money. My dad paid the bills that I was aware of. He talked bill paying with me. We didn't necessarily get into a bill paying educational process. My job was to go to school. So during school, in high school, they didn't let me work. But when I got to college, I had to assist in my payments for college. So I was used to being a part of the financial process for my education. When I got out of school, I got our own place, I paid my bills, but like I had a Sears credit card and I didn't realize the minimum balance wasn't really paying on the card. I didn't realize that if you skip that, the percentage that went into that card, if I wanted something, I bought it. So I had a lot of NSF fees bouncing off of my card. I floated checks. I did the things people were doing in the early to mid 90s to early 2000s that were, hey, this is how I take care of money. And, as long as there's money, we make it work. And that's what I brought to the table. What did you bring to the table?
Well, I've worked, let's see. So I started off by volunteering, and I think that gave me the muscle for work. And I mean, we, as oldest children, we're responsible. We are told we are responsible. We've been given responsibilities. And I think both of our journeys are similar in that I was working at 15. I was making good money as a lifeguard for our city. And so, yeah, I mean, like I was spending money, and my concept of a savings was if you didn't spend it all, then that was your savings. And I took that into my first job. So, I've always had office jobs, office admin kind of assistant jobs. So I've had good money along the way, but yeah, a savings is your overflow. and,
Mhm.
concepts that we eventually learned together, um, about every dollar, having a name, having a place to go. Like, my dad sat down and paid the bills. I sat with him, saw the bill, wrote the check, but the concept of, you know, how do you make all the pieces work together? And also the assumption was that, both people work. And, so you kind of throw your money in the pot, you kind of get assigned, either mortgage or,
Yeah.
and so, having those partial pictures never really prepares you. Even
Mhm.
taking junior achievement, even, doing those kinds of things that give you some concept about money. When it is your money in your hand, and there's money in your hand, you got things that, and it's not going to reach from this hand to that hand. Um, when we got married, that caused some friction that we weren't aware of because we have
Mhm.
a good partnership. But when it came to money, there wasn't a plan of action. There wasn't,
Mhm.
how do you have this conversation? Because you're worried about offending.
And I'm not sure, Dee, that we even knew to have that conversation. I mean, we had separate accounts. We had separate accounts until when? For years.
Oh, yeah, we did. I remember, let's see. So Jay was a baby. So maybe by year, it was like been within our first 2 years of being married. I was like, I need a computer. And so after work, I went to the Comp USA. Is that what it was? Oh
That's
my
what it
gosh.
was.
I went to Comp USA and negotiated, buying a computer, brought the computer home and said, guess what? I bought a computer. And something felt wrong. I think
Mhm.
that for me was the first time that I was just like, tell you how long ago, I just made a $300 purchase and I didn't talk to my spouse about, not only do we need a computer, but hey, can we spend this? I was just like, look, I make this amount of money, I can put this aside, and make it work. And that from 1 to 2, I think, it was a slow transition. You definitely need some education because there are I until we took the financial peace class, like I didn't even have a vocabulary for talking about money.
Right. So we decided from that point that if anything was hundreds of dollars, even as low as $100, that we would have a conversation about what we had and what we were trying to do. Now, understand that that can be a bit of a challenge. I, I had no problem putting my money into a joint account. What that does then is I can't surprise her. I can't reach into the account and say, I'm going to spend money because I want to surprise her with ABC. I have to find some way to squirrel money away, which I still haven't figured out how to do that because the presence of that money is still, as far as I'm concerned, a we issue. And even if I wanted to take her on a $2,500, dollar, excursion, that money has got to be explained. Because even in the depths of all the things that we've done, we've never had a high overflow of money. Money has not just been pouring in. We've moved past, in general, the check to check process, which we did for quite some time, and that was a struggle. And I think that probably, unfortunately, D, was where we had some of our biggest miscommunication. There
I
were
agree.
things we didn't talk about, that rough patch place, because then you're just kind of, hey, we got to pay the bills, pay the bills. And, do we have enough to pay the bills? Do we have anybody enough money to put in to pay the bills? And you realize that conversation is tough. So when you're looking at that in terms of moving abroad, so we're preparing to move abroad, where's the money? And what we've moved into is a serious planning and outlining process. On the walls around me, and I don't have my webcam to pull off and show you, but on the walls around me are giant stick notes that outline what we owe, to who we owe, how we've paid it off. And those are lessons that we've learned from bumbling through some of that.
And we've gotten tips. So one of our early videos was with Rick and Halisi, Our Black Utopia, where we were talking about some of these same issues of, historically what impacts your decision making, and what can you be doing today? Because what you do now is what you're going to do when you move abroad. If you are, spending down to the penny and you don't have an emergency fund, like, you're going to live that same life abroad. If you are not honest about where money is going or how you're making it, and are having a direct conversation about when you spend, then it creates problems. You're you're in a new place, and that these are some of the reasons why. So I don't want to leave our folk in the chat without the opportunity to ask some questions. In the description are 4 videos. One is a TEDx talk talking about how do you have the money conversation. And I was kind of confronted by some stuff that I've taken for granted. That respect component. I don't do it just because it's how we account for the dollars and cents. I believe we are partnered, and so it's my responsibility to understand where we're going. It's my responsibility to understand how my actions impact our goals. It's also my responsibility to understand how to pay the bills. Because if Herman is not, able to, take care of certain things, I need to be equally aware.
And I think that's an important one, is that you take care of those financial responsibilities as a couple, and it's not one person's responsibility. I consider Dee to be the more organized financial person. Now, she would disagree with me, but I consider her to be the more organized. And a part of that is a security issue for you, right? So as a security issue, she jumps into things, and for me it was, here's the check, I got nothing to hide here. If that's what makes you comfortable, go. Unfortunately, I think that put me in the rear of making sure I understood all of the ins and outs of what was happening. I checked the accounts, I would sit down and we close out the taxes, but I wasn't always the one putting my hands on the work. And that's something that over the years I've had to say, hey, I'm going to pull this out this week. Hey, I'm responsible for calling us on the budget today or this week or this month. And I think that has improved the communication. You have to be from the beginning really upfront about what your expectations are for the money.
And for your partner in relationship to the money. Right.
This is a weak conversation. So many people go into what's yours is mine and what's mine is mine. and that can. The young lady in one of the videos that Danica connected, the young ladies were talking, and she said, I came to the table saying he would put his money in and my money would be my money. And he was like, yeah, that's not how that's going to work. and that conversation, you fall into sometimes the gender expectations of who should take care of money. You go out and work, even though both people go out and work, but your money falls into this responsibility. And instead of, as a couple, we are we are working together to try to make our future best together.
Mm-hmm.
Dee has been a greater financial earner for the majority of our relationship. That does not bother me. Ladies and gentlemen, that is not a thing for me. A part of the reason that is not a thing for me is because she does not make me feel like the under earner. She does not make me feel like the second earner. She does not decide what we do because she makes more money. I am an equal partner and I am head of household, and I'm using those terms on purpose. She has allowed me.
Because of the struggle and because we put all the cards, we're learning to put all the cards on the table. And then even when I have a concern or even a negative emotional response, that my partner does not feel threatened because we've created safety in other parts of our relationship, so that I can say, when he says something to me that if somebody passing by said that, I'd be, what you mean? What, you coming for me? But I say, he sang this out of love. He loves me in all of the other ways, is protective of me in all those other ways. He's taking a risk in being transparent and vulnerable. And so I'm going to receive that, be thoughtful about it. If it still rubs me, then I'm going to be honest about how it came across to me. But that is the safety that when you are investing in relationship skills, in communication skills, they are more than abundantly going to come in handy when you're talking move abroad, when you're talking about money in general. Because the number one, it's been for decades, the number one reason why people divorce is over finances. A large reason why people have to or choose to come back to the States after moving abroad is there's not a sustainable plan. And so having these conversations about thoughts, feelings, culture, your history, your expectations is worth the investment. But we did not get here by ourselves.
No. And I was looking at Tanya's comment. Thank you for the compliment.
Mm-hmm.
I think what happens with men, she said she wished more men thought like me. I think what happens with men, unfortunately, I'm dancing here. There are men who have an issue with you make more money than me. But I think for me, it's about the relationship. If it's, I just happen to make more money and that's the end of it, then that's a thing. If it's, I make more money, so I have a higher voice in this process, then you've already got a problem. And that doesn't matter whether it's the man making the money or the woman making the money. If we are not equal partners across the board in all aspects of who we are, I wrote a poem for Dee when she turned 21. I wrote a book of poems for Dee when we were 21. She turned 21. And our favorite poem together out of that is called Us and We. And in that poem, I identified us is we're individual people. Us, you do this, I do that, and we kind of in that space together. We do this. We move through this process together. We flow through this process together. And you have to begin to recognize the two pieces. There has to be an us so that we can have a better we. If there is not an individual, independent person still happening, then you kind of mess up the process. But when we decide. And go ahead, babe.
Yeah, no. And I'm going to say that I've leaned into this conversation specifically for what Agent Grateful is mentioning. I previously, and probably still do, have a real fear about losing my partner.
Mhm.
It is an honest fear. It is, well, I won't say fear, that inside of me, if something happens and Herman is not there in the way that he's been there with me, that not understanding our financial responsibilities, whether that's debts or how money comes in, then that is an area that is open to neglect. To I mean, if most of us are living paycheck to paycheck, then it doesn't take a couple of paychecks to be all kind of wrong.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I leaned into the together part of the process. I chose to overcome some of my historical issues with money because I knew I did not want this to be an era. We lost friends. Um, the husband passed and they had small children. And I was
Mhm.
just like, that could be our reality. We have to do something. And so our youngest was 2
Mhm.
when we took Financial Peace University. Agent Grateful has put that information also in the chat, but it gave us areas to look at. It gave us a process to do together, but also in a group of other people. Um, I thought I was doing something because we only had one credit card. And I was just like, hey, but that one credit card created a vulnerability for
Mhm.
us because, you're at the gas station, you either at the limit or you just run it like the lottery and cross your fingers and hope you can put some gas in your car. Those kinds of experiences. And you cannot be out here in these move abroad streets talking about, I hope my credit card um, processes this medical claim so I can get care at this hospital. Like, I mean, those are vulnerabilities you don't want to have. And an emergency really is that. That class taught us what is a real emergency, not I need a vacation. I need an emergency vacation. You know, I mean,
Yeah,
I need this
we
emergency,
right.
this emergency dress that I see on the clearance rack for, X dollars. And I'm talking about the number of, what do you call it, decimal places that's not an emergency. So it gives you the opportunity, but there are lots of programs out there like that. I know Rick and Halisi have done Beyond the Bling. Like there are spaces where people are talking money. They're talking about if you are, this is my lived experience as a Black person. Like we bring a lot of history. Um, that commercial, don't tell your mom, don't tell your dad. It was funny, but not funny.
Right. And you know what? We've talked about that. We've used it as an example a lot. That don't tell mom, don't tell dad. And, wow. In the raising of our children and in dealing with our lives, it's been here it is up front. I don't have the money to pay this bill this month. How are we going to pay this bill? D is away working on this house sit. We knew that for a while, potentially, I wouldn't be there. So that means that for a while, we're using dual resources. How do we plan for that? And we sat down and we had that conversation, and we are still having that conversation because it takes a lot. Once she got on the ground, then she recognized, okay, this is going to be a challenge. So this is going to be different. And this is going to require this. This is how far we're away from, thing. This young lady here, she comes from a lineage of walkers. And so her great grandmother walked for everywhere and lived to be 105 years old. So this woman will be here for her next 3 husbands. She will be here. He is here for the long term. And the first thing she does when we get places is she say, how far can I get there by walking? And I'm like, there's a rental car outside. We can get in there. And so she had to identify, hey, this space is different. It's going to require me to financially make some changes. How can we budget that? How can we plan that? And that's a big deal, because it's an ongoing conversation. It's not a crisis conversation. It's an ongoing conversation. I think a lot of problems are because we're having financial conversations when the issues hit the fan.
Yes.
And instead of, hey, there's a potential blow up down the road. How do we potentially prepare for that blow up? And if it doesn't happen, great. And if it's worse than it is, then we're somewhere along the way in the conversation. And I because I think that applies to many of the pieces of what are delicate spaces in a relationship. But because money is so crucial to being able to exist, I had my account tapped into this past week. So the reason our Facebook,
I was so glad that it was our habit to check our account every day.
Because our Facebook page is now down because I closed it because they broke into my Facebook page, which was attached to our H&D Abroad Facebook page. And not wanting that person to access that account, we had to close down that account. They took my account. Well, I just found out this past week they got into my bank account. But because we check it regularly, because we check it daily, we were able to shut that down immediately. And it did not affect our resources going forward. And in addition to having that conversation between us, I had that conversation with our 3 children, 2 of who don't live here, because some of their resources are connected to us. Mm-hmm. And so we were able to give them the resources on how to move forward, how to look at that. It is not a comfortable conversation. It is not a comfortable conversation. I am currently at a different employment place. Okay? And looking for better resources. But we have been on this road before because of the nature of the jobs and the careers that we have chosen. Health services, behavioral sciences, human resources, culinary work can come and go. Work can be up and down. And we have had to be a lot smarter. We're not talking about we were always smart. We've been in bad times and spent bad money. We've been in good times and spent bad money. Luckily, we've not sent ourselves into disaster, but we are really trying to be hypersensitive, as Dee likes to say, about where our process is. Sorry, I want to ramble. All right.
I see several people who are saying my husband, my wife, that I can tell you all, we've got some married folk. Come on, y'all, lean in. Tell us your tips, your tricks. I know that there are people like Transition to Tech. Man, she is my money guru. You hear me? She is my money guru because she out here living. When we went to Morocco, she went on to Spain and she went on. And I said, "Are you working?" She says, "Oh, no, darling." But she didn't line her stuff up. I'm learning in community. People are willing to share. People are doing. I never thought about house sits until Stephanie Perry. And I was just like, you mean I can go somewhere, provide a nominal service and have no line item for accommodations. I just got to get there and I got to do a little of this and a little of that. So I'm watering plants and I might push a mower before H gets here. But that's it. That's all I'm doing. And I'm getting ready to, I'm looking at Pikes Peak. I'm going to go to Garden of the Gods. Are you kidding me? Like, this is revolutionizing our lives, our budget. We can do things. We can do the things that bring us joy and still maintain the the process. So there's the everyday things.
Mhm.
So where H has talked about. So we use a program called an online program called Every Dollar.
Mhm.
It's a zero-based budget. I think Susie Orman is someone else that uses a process where you're literally, before you get your money every month, you're telling it this is going to investments, this is going to, the mortgage, this on the wall, right where H is. We know that car insurance, property taxes, those things are coming up. So what are we setting aside today to be ready to pay those things
Mhm.
when we know those bills are going to come due,
And
and
we
making
we
it
we know,
every day.
yeah. So, Madam Teacher, yes, it is an app.
Yes,
It's called Every Dollar. It is an app. It's
and it
through.
is no
It's
cost.
no cost, right? They do have a paid option, but
Yeah.
we use the basic. Budgeting has been a life changer for me, and I can tell when we aren't keeping up with the budget because we're having bigger conversations about what happened to the money. Because then we have to backtrack, and then we have to keep up.
Y'all, this man asked me, did you make a so and so and so Amazon purchase? Yes. Like,
And
I mean, like that's where we are.
and we're not talking about, I don't believe, I personally don't believe, I'm not looking over her shoulder about her money. Okay. I married a wage earner, and she is a grown A woman. And I do not follow her happenings. Budgeting, keeping up with
We
it.
are reconciling the account though.
Right. Keeping up with the budget is about making sure that everything is in order. We have both been in a place we went, oh man, I went and I bought so and so and I didn't think about it. We talking about a sandwich. We talking about, groceries. And I did not look first. But I have been known over the last couple of years to be standing in the Walmart, Target, Publix line with my stuff on the belt, self-checking out, and stop and pull out the
Every
the uh,
dollar
the
app.
banking app to make sure that what I'm trying to spend is in my account, because I didn't look yesterday, or what's in my budget is within our budget, because being fiscally responsible is a joint responsibility to our house. Um, this woman taught me hustle culture, and I don't ever question her work ability. I mean, we've talked about before that when we were trying to pay off the student loan debts, we budgeted. We not budgeted. We calculated that it would take us 3 to 4 years to pay it off at a certain process. We jumped in and pulled together 7 jobs between us and paid 95% of it off in 13 months. Now, don't do that. And that's a conversation
Never,
for today. Just for the sake
never
of your
again.
health and well-being, don't do that. But it was important to us at the time.
One of the teachings that I know Agent Grateful will know from Financial Peace University is, man, these debit cards can be a trick.
Yeah.
And so we started off, y'all, kicking it super old school.
Mm-hmm.
We said there were certain things that we were bills that we were having automatically taken out of our account, but because we had the zero-based budget, we knew X amount of dollars were for groceries. So we literally pulled out cash. It's called the envelope system.
Mm-hmm.
We pulled out cash. If ain't no more cash in the envelope, you can either borrow it from another envelope, but you don't go get no more cash.
Mm-hmm.
So you designate your entertainment budget, your gas budget, your miscellaneous. And so just know you can make whatever your process, where we always on this channel talk about the things you're going to do abroad, you probably should begin doing here, because I did not expect the food prices here to come from me.
Yeah.
And they have. So in the kitchen right now, H, before I started this call, I was like, I'm not buying no canned beans. We've got in there with some dry beans. They are soaking. They will be on the stove tonight. Like I'm baking bread. If I need bread, I'm that kind of
Yeah.
budget-minded,
Listen,
budgetista.
listen. The youngest boy and I are here, and I was like, son, I know you're hungry all day long. He takes online classes. I was like, but this meal is for this time of day. You're gonna have to come up with something. Make yourself a sandwich. But I made this for tonight and tomorrow night when I come home. Because that food has got to be, you got to be in the process. I'm pulling stuff out the freezer. I'm throwing it out. The chef is in effect, boy, because we have to make sure everything continues to move forward.
Yeah.
Um,
There is no right way. I definitely want to say, just as an answer to this question, is there a right way to talk about money? I think the right way is to just start.
Mm-hmm.
Probably starting, like we have mentioned, starting when there isn't a crisis.
Mm-hmm.
You're on a walk, it's over dinner, and being able to say, hey, what do you, where do you see us financially? Taking account of, these are all of the bills. This is, you can, if you start to chart what you spend, and you can do that with a basic bank account. Where did your money go? Where are you spending it? And then being able to say, we don't really have enough income for our outgo,
Mm-hmm.
to borrow from your dad.
Yeah.
And so, what do we need to do about that? But also, like, putting it on paper, y'all.
Mm-hmm. Here's the behavioral scientist jumping in. When you have a conversation, talk about yourself. It's easy to come in with, you don't, when you do, it's that you, hey, I've been looking at money for our home. Here's how I see things. Here's how I understand things. Here's how I like things. Here are my challenges. That's the beginning of a conversation, because you're starting the conversation by not flailing accusation. It's easy to have the blinders on about what your flaws are. And if you start throwing accusations, be prepared to get hit by a few. And that starts a fight. Fighting does not solve physical growth, does not create physical growth, does not create unity. It's your home's decision, your relationship decision to base things on, like, should we have joint account? Should I have a second account? Should I have a secret account? That's something you decide in your space. I've heard people say, we have separate accounts and we put our stuff together for the things that are important. Cool. I put all my money into the pot. Whether it's $5 or $500,000, all my money goes into the pot. That is not only that, a part of that is so that I can be responsible about where my money is. I'm not out trying to buy stuff. I can put all the stuff in my closet between my two hands. Okay. And that's just what it is. I don't have trinkets. I don't have things. I'm not out on the weekend. I probably need to get a life. Okay. But it's a way for me to keep a track of it being in front of me. And I have no question that if I was incapacitated or no longer here, that Dee could take care of the business of the house. She's been out of the house now for 3 days, and I can already see her absence in the space, because that's the process of how we have this conversation. We are not perfect. I'm making it sound good, but this is not perfect. She gets on me all the time. These stickies on the board are as much for me as they are for her. They are, look at this, make sure you're taking care of this. I saw you come home 3 days with groceries. Because that's where I get caught. I can go to the store every day and pick up new things, to cook new things. And that is not always the best option, because sometimes I don't want what I had yesterday. I might want it tomorrow or a couple of days from now, but I might not want what I had last night today. And sometimes I got to buck up and say, this is here. And it's easy to blame the kids. The kids ate all the lasagna. I got to cook something new. Yeah.
Well, let's see. So, Madam Teacher asked, what's our deadline? So,
we have a deadline year.
Yeah, by the end of 2024 is kind of is a date that a deadline that we put on ourselves to move. And so I know for my heart to move into something new, I need to be solid. The money needs to be solid.
Mm-hmm.
The income for funding the life abroad needs to be solid. The savings, the emergency funds need to be solid. If we keep our house, we need to have enough to cover the mortgage for a specific amount of time, because we might not have a renter for, the first 3 months, or something goes awry, and that I do not want those worries. And so it's not necessarily an insulation, but it's just like, okay, those are some obvious things that you can plan for. But it also is able to tell me if we're still saying 2024, we don't have what we need, maybe we need to sell the house.
Right.
And so we're able to have these kinds of conversations because it's written down. We have a timeline that we can look at how is life going life between now and then. And then we're also able to get advice and hear others talk about that journey. So
our emergency fund remains a priority at all points. So if we get to a place where we have to use the emergency fund in a real dire emergency, our first priority after that is to put it back, because sometimes emergencies are far and few between, and sometimes they are concurrent. And trying to put that back. Hey to our Exodus Life. What's going on?
Yeah. Trust me, I've been watching their journey, and yeah, she put in the chat. They're covering their mortgage for they've got plans to cover their mortgage for up to a year. If you want to incite, fear, discomfort, anxiety, those are the vulnerability areas where I'm just like, look, it's not even worth it. Sell it and move on. But and so we're able to have dream conversations because we're talking about money. We're able to have those daily, hey, how are we incrementally getting from here to there? There's some flexibility. So I'm gonna call this our flex age. So our flex was as much as we could to get things on a annual basis or a semi-annual. We were chunking things so that we don't have those little debts coming out every single month like that. And so that a budget actually helped us to see where we had money, where we had not anticipated it.
And I need to be honest and say that was a challenge for me at the beginning. It was a challenge for me because paying the bills every month allowed me to remain constant in the process. It wasn't an absent thing. It was I'm paying the light bill, I'm paying the water bill, I'm paying the power bill. So moving those things to auto pay, where I had to then go look for the announcement for them, putting things on a 6-month or a year process where I had to remember to plan for them, actually was a maturity thing. Because I was not just planning for the month, the week, the year. I was planning for a year in advance. So we paying the house insurance, planning for the house insurance for next year. We're paying the life insurance, planning for the life insurance for next year. We're paying the car insurance, planning for the car insurance in 6 months. Every time the announcement goes off about the water bill is due, the power bill is due, I'm not waiting for the paper amount. I've already checked it. I've already gone to look for it.
And we're adding it in, so we estimate what it will cost in the Every Dollar app.
And that's the answer to your question. Our Exodus Life we use the Every Dollar app. Every Dollar app. It's the Dave Ramsey system.
and then we're able to say, okay, this was estimated, this was the actual, so I can move a little bit of that money somewhere else.
Mhm.
So
And
and
we try
and
to
then
put
you're able to see trends. Oh, we
Right.
are definitely where you remember which was always those first few months was always our overspend in our budget item.
groceries.
Yes,
Groceries.
you can never really estimate that well. So if you have a budget, like almost double it for food because
And,
you
and,
you're
and again,
way more than
that,
you think.
yeah, again, being honest, that was more so about me than it was. And well, it was two things. It was two things because not only do we have being mindful about going out and buying groceries and cooking all the time, but we were also adding eating out to our grocery bill. So eating out is we've in what we just spent $50 on. We never spent $75. We barely ever spent $50 on anything. But what we spent $50 buying for this meal could have been $50 into buying a group of things we could have had for a couple of meals. So that was getting us because it was helping us be mindful of, okay, we got kind of lazy this week and we went out to eat 3 times. We rarely ever do that, but sometimes
When you're on the road,
you're on the road with
you're
I
working
work
10, 12 hours.
sometimes
Yep.
that are 10, 12-hour days. I'm not coming home to cook. And if I come home and she's been sitting at her computer all day, I'm not expecting that she cooks some food. So we hop in the car, go grab something to eat. Those add up.
Quick.
That peanut butter and jelly sandwich in your lunchbox will save you the $10 at wherever. And because those consecutive $10 become just $10 a day, 5 days a week is $50.
And if he's doing that and I'm doing that,
That's $100 on eating out, outside of us going out to eat together as a couple, outside of having bought groceries because we got an 18-year-old male living in the house. You figure out the budget.
so yeah, the tools that we're using, I know that there are a lot of people in the Exodus Summit community that are offering. I know Adelia offers not just an investment challenge, but like, just some basic skills. So Adelia Borishade, Picky Girl Travels the World. I know we took Beyond the Bling, which is a course with Rick and Halisi of Our Black Utopia. We've mentioned Financial Peace University, which they have both in-person small groups and an online version. Your employer may also be using a version of the Dave Ramsey plan. So check your employee benefits. So I'm putting on my HR hat and saying that a lot of employers, if you have your employee assistance program, doesn't just offer counseling. Sometimes you need a mediator when you are beginning these conversations because it is unearthing, hurt and harm that may have happened, feelings of either spending money or shopping, was soothing. Being able to go out to dinner represented, I have a lifestyle, a luxury. This is the luxury lifestyle that I'm able to add into a lifestyle that really can accommodate it. So we'll add those resources as well. But even in the Move Abroad process, we are talking about why we're talking about money. And that is because if you're continuing to live your American lifestyle of American restaurants, that's going to be expensive. If you are in areas, kind of those expat heavy areas where your servers are able to speak English to you, those are probably some of the places that are going to be more expensive. And so when you're thinking about how do we stay on budget, yeah, you're going to need to be able to say, we are having spaghetti. As our Exodus life, they were like, this is our real life in Puerto Vallarta. We're having spaghetti tonight. We don't go out to dinner every night, even though there is a savings by moving to a country where the dollar is still very strong.
Want to keep you mindful. It's always great to see you. I see Dr. Linda came on. Looks like some people eating her out of house and home too. We're always grateful when you spend time with us and allow us to share a little bit of our story and our journey. Your presence here is an encouragement for us. We are learners. We talk a big game, but we are learners. It's any time for me to show off my pretty lady. We're here every Saturday at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, which is whatever time it is your time when we started. Always, we ask if you're new, if you're returning, because there's a lot of people returning who haven't done it yet. Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. Please share our page with people you know. Tell them to come check us out. We're looking for ways to learn and to grow. As always, I'm Herman.
And I'm Dee, and I'm so thankful for all of the comments and the encouragement and the resources that people have put in the chat. So please make sure that you're pulling those. We'll have, I've identified some videos, but we'll add some more resources in the description. Y'all, please get out there, make Move Abroad your plan A. We're doing it, and we're in community to do it together. Have a good day, everyone. Bye for now.